What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and today we're taking a look at a life-altering double bass event. The Wabass Institute is in its 14th year, and Hal Robinson, Eric Larson, and Renan Meyer have been with it since the beginning. I had a chance to sit down with the three of them and talk about Wabass, its origins, what it's all about, what the experience is like, how it inspires them throughout the year. That's what we're covering here. Links to everything we talk about are in the description below, and I really hope you enjoy it.
Well, I'm so excited for the four of us to be together. And this is like such a thrill personally for me. I just, and there's so much respect and admiration going on here. And yeah, just to echo what Al was saying, Jason, you make it so, accessible for double bass players who are coming up from the very beginning all the way through. That's really what we're about at Wabass, is learning forever and sharing the knowledge and doing that in a way that hopefully encourages that next generation of upcoming musicians, but in some ways, the people that just need a sort of refresher to get away from what they're doing, to come for a retreat-like atmosphere at Wabass. And 15 years ago, maybe even a little longer, I just remember us in our the three of us, between Eric, Hal, and myself, but I remember us in our little pods, whether it was two of us or three of us, talking about this imaginative land that we could have as bass players, where we could, we all had experiences teaching other places that were wonderful, but they weren't necessarily completely under our watch, and which meant we didn't have complete control to do, carry out a vision that we thought would be ideal. And we really just kind of dreamt it up together. We didn't necessarily, we didn't say, this is what's going to happen, this is the date that it's going to start. It was more like we'd get together and have a coffee and talk about, wouldn't it be amazing if? And then after a lot of that dreaming, maybe for a few years, it sort of fell into our laps. And we had an opportunity to hang our hats at a place called Wabash, Indiana, where we could start this program called Wabass. And now we're going into our 14th year together for this full scholarship, merit-based program, which we only accept or have the opportunity or luxury to have 9 bass players or less come every season. And it really becomes a team. I think Hal and Eric and we like to call it a team. And even the language, the semantics of the people that attend and the so-called faculty, and I do that for a reason in quotations, because that's even sort of changed to mentors and fellowship scholars, just trying to create semantics where we're bridging the gap and making it so we're really all learning together for a week. I know we talk about how it's our favorite place to go every summer. You can't say that a 1 week long program is going to be the thing that is going to change a bass player's life or a musician's life forever. But I think if we could say one thing that generally happens at Wabass Institute, is it's a philosophical adjustment for a lot of people, where they're able to just kind of take a step back and really feel empowered and encouraged and in a very safe place, or at least we hope to think so, feel like they can add their own opinions, not feel like they're going to be shut down, but at the very worst, it will become conversational, and we can discuss things. And sometimes it's like, yes, what you said. And other times it informs the next thing that we discuss all together and try out on our instruments. And so, I'm really proud that Hal, Eric, and I, and we've been there since the beginning, and I hope we're there for many years to come, exist in a way that's just as egoless as I have ever experienced. To say it's without ego is probably impossible. but the ego is very much in check, and we're able to just humbly learn together. And I even personally, just talking about myself, I learn the most every year at Wabass, every year. And it fuels the next 51 weeks until I have a return back to the program. So I just wanted to kind of like, start us off with that as a fundamental artistic explanation. And Eric, do you have I'm curious what you would say to some of that stuff or anything to add.
I just love that every year it's different. So what we do after we choose everybody, we send out a questionnaire. What do you want to talk about? So our base class topics are different every single year. And people have certain things that they want to talk about, they want to bring up, they want to discuss, they want to go in depth. So that conversation is constantly evolving and it's constantly changing. And so it's as Renan puts it, it's brain soup. Everybody's collective ideas coming together to really to learn and grow in a really, really wonderfully supportive space. So we start the week by, we got to walk the walk. So we do a recital, the three of us, and then we ask for comments. So and to just to sort of set the stage for everybody to contribute to what to the week.
I was kind of hoping you'd give your version of the start of Wabass, because Renan's version is kind of like, really? What I remember is like you and I were teaching some camp somewhere, and the camp was really all about chamber, quartets, and the basses were like stuck off somewhere and thought of as like second-class citizens. We're sitting in the lunchroom together, not feeling too good about it, and you said, "Hey, let's do a bass camp." That's what I remember. And you were really close with Eric at the time. I'm sure y'all were banding about. Eric, were you still in Houston then?
Yeah.
Were you still in Philly? You were in Houston by then.
Yeah, I was in Houston. I just moved down here. Yeah.
And I just have to claim the truth here. I mean, I'm sure Eric would agree with me. It's Renan's vision and his ability to have a thought and have it actually come into being. I mean, it's amazing what he's done for all of us. Now we all work at it. I mean, I don't mean to say that we don't work at it, but Renan's the mastermind of this. And I'm so grateful for his ability to care for these kids and to convince people to donate so that we can do the camp, because it is scholarship free. It's not, you gotta have some money backing there to feed and house people for a week and pay all the fees and everything. So, there's that Renan's done, and his vision to bring us together as a team. That's number one. Number two, I think the driving force, it's the sharing the knowledge is a big part of it. It's just, people don't own knowledge, and we just want to just amplify it and empower the kids. I say the kids, empower the student, empower whoever's there to use and share all the knowledge that they have freely, and don't be ashamed. Don't be, if you have a concept, share it, and we'll talk about it. And the third main thing, which I've just cherished, is using improvisation as a learning tool, using as a tool to get out of yourself a little bit, get out of your head, and to also problem solve. That's what improvisation is. You have a problem? Well, I need to improvise a little bit here. See, so it's actually the musical version of it, and we encourage that. And just once you break down these barriers, it's such a warm environment. Everybody loves and sharing, and there's very little protective, or we're able to set up an environment that's really loving. I'm so proud of that. So proud of that.
What's so cool that you explore improvisation. How does that work? Is that something that you're doing daily, or talk a little bit more about that? That's really cool. That's a component.
Part of it's a secret.
Okay.
There's some things about Wabass that you don't know until you've attended Wabass. But then there's other things that people know just because their friends have told them. So, so now the cat's kind of out of the bag. But if we put it on this show, then it will really be out of the bag.
We'll keep some mystique. Got it.
but that all said, we try to, in a creative way, and in a safe way, because I won't single the person out, but we had somebody who attended our program in the last couple of years that said that they had avoided auditioning for Wabass single-handedly because she heard a rumor that there was improvisation at the program. And that made me feel so sad that a person wouldn't audition because they were really scared of something, an element, which is the whole opposite point. It's like the reason that we're doing this is to, say, come on in. And that person wouldn't come, but on the flip side of that, after the week was done, this fellowship scholar in particular said that it was actually not so bad to have that as an element, and that they learned from it, and now feel like they can incorporate it into part of their being. Look, I have this like 5-pronged thing that I use for what I believe to be some elements that make a well-rounded musician. And the first one is the written page. The second is the interpretation of that written page. The third is spontaneity in music making. The fourth being improvisation. And the fifth being something like free improv or pandemonium, something that you might see like, and I love Ornette Coleman, but something like Ornette Coleman would give you as far as a chart, where you have a lot of flexibility and freedom. All of those elements, I think, are part of becoming a real well-rounded musician from my lens. And somebody who I would consider to be like right in the middle of that spectrum is Yo-Yo Ma. Spontaneous, like he could play the same thing over and over. That's completely written down from beginning to end, but somehow it's new every time and fresh. So to leave out that element, improvisation, completely, to me it's missing one element. And it doesn't mean that you have to go make a career in improvisation, but there's a fluidity even in like the way that we're having this conversation right now that is human, because we all have our English language. We have the ability to create sentences that hopefully convey some sort of a point, an emotion, a story, etc. So that's a tool, and so using that at Wabass, I think we all agreed. Hal, Eric, and I said we have to implement this because this is something that we believe is fundamental.
I'm guessing you guys don't see each other that much in the normal course of the year. That's probably a great opportunity to reconnect for that week. Even though like Renan and Hal, probably you don't live too far from each other, I know, but probably you're not seeing each other on a weekly basis, I'm guessing. So it must be really cool to have that continuity over these last 14 years and get together and get inspired. Not only share your expertise and everything that you've done and inspire these students, but it sounds obviously like it's inspiring to the three of you as well.
I mean, it's always so incredible to be around Hal and Renan. They're both so inspirational, and to watch them just continue to grow over the last 14 years is amazing. And then all the students that have come through, to see them grow and develop, and some of them come back and continue to grow and develop. And it's been awesome to sort of watch the careers of all these people that have come through Wabass. They've been affected by Wabass, and it's been cool to watch this community grow and grow and grow and be inspired by it. It's always an incredible week just to hang out with these guys and talk bass and just be inspired by everybody that's there. So it's always an incredible week.
I have an impossible question that I'd love to ask all three of you, because I have all of you on the line. I'll direct it at Hal, but I'd love to hear all your thoughts. Because Hal, I think about like back in the early 90s, I think I photocopied every single one of those different Strokes articles from the ISB Journal, and I had them in a 3-ring binder, and I would carry around and read your comments and all these. So I think about somebody like you who's been doing this for decades, but still seems inspired, and you're putting out new editions of things like the Quad that, and you're revamping things and doing programs like Wabass. How has your thinking on teaching changed for any of you from when you were, back in the National Symphony and now, the decades that you've spent through the various institutions and Curtis and everything? Like, how do you think differently about teaching now than maybe you did 30 years ago? And I'd love to hear, Renan and Eric, your thoughts on that too. You haven't taught as long, but you taught a lot of people and done a lot. And sorry, that's a horrible question, but maybe you could give me an answer somehow.
Sure. First of all, I just want to say about what Wabass means for the three of us, when we're there each year. Our relationships are based on love. When we studied with each other, we just loved each other so much. And when we get together, it's like old home. And the team works. Everybody has their specialties that they're better at, and we just really kick it each year. And it gets, strange enough, it gets better every year. It really does. It gets better. The level of students grows, and our level of teaching and interaction, I think, gets better as well. So that's a closer about that. As far as teaching change, I've been very fortunate to be teaching in institutions where I've been trying to keep up with my students for the last 50 years. Well, maybe 45 years ago, I maybe was one of the ones on the top. The rest of the time, I'm just trying to fill in the gaps and keep up with what's going on today. Fortunately, the Wabass stuff sort of opened me up quite a bit, and probably went a little overboard with it, but retained a lot of information from that. Then working with Edgar, if you're going to be around Edgar, you're not going to learn something's the matter with you. Seriously. You just start trying to block it out. It's just really my good fortune. I've just been striving to grow. Probably the best evidence of my growth is I won Principal Philly at 42. And usually at 42, guys are, playing golf or raising families. I was raising families. Didn't matter. I was still going to practice. I was still going to go for that gig, and my kids know it. But just trying to keep up with what's happening today. My latest project's I published the Bach Third Suite 25 years ago. It was my own personal markings, everything. I'm shooting to come out with the Evolving Bach and show how much that's changed in the last 25 years, and with some really progressive ideas about, utilizing the Magdalena bowings and also, the thumb fingerings that keep things clean and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to keep up, really, Jason. My kids right now, they all play better than me, but I'm still in there fighting,
I can't wait to check out that Bach edition and everything else you got coming out. That's really cool. Renan, you were one of the very first people I spoke with for this podcast. If I go back, it was right around the time that you probably started Wabass. I think it was probably 13, 14 years ago that we first chatted for the podcast. And you were talking about a promising student you had named Brent Edmondson. And so it's just sort of cool to have been a fly on the wall in your career for, I remember playing with you in the Irish Chamber Orchestra in like 2001, 2002. And seeing Time for Three and how that's evolved, and then chatting with you backstage a couple of years ago in California. How has your thinking about teaching changed through Wabass, through everything that you've done?
Well, I've gone in phases with teaching throughout my career, where sometimes I've had a regular studio, and then other times I haven't, and I've sort of just been invited to do this type of workshop or start things like Utah Bass Symposium, and of course now Honeywell Arts Academy, and really be a guest in a lot of ways, or come through things through programs where it's been a week of time or a few days of time, things like that. So it's really been like a journey and not consistent, because I'm a touring musician, and not so much during the pandemic, but I'm a touring musician, generally speaking. And so part of me, I have to think about what's fair to the person that I'm going to devote my time to. And there's integrity, I think, in that, because if I'm asked to be, say, an artist in residence for a few years somewhere, I usually make it very clear that there needs to be somebody who's going to be there on a consistent basis, because otherwise, I can't just come for two weeks and be gone for 6 weeks. That's not fair to the student. So that's number one. How have things evolved? I think they probably started out very personalized when it comes to anybody I would work with. But I think over time, there's been even more honesty and more personalization, no matter whom I'm working with. Every once in a while, I have a very involved parent that maybe has their agenda, but there's the student is saying, I want to do this, and that's where their heart lies. And I'm a believer that if you can really hone in on the passion of what it is they want to do and who they want to become as an artist, whether it's actually who they become or not, that's a very powerful thing, because it gets them excited about what they're doing. It's not a chore. I'm not talking about never playing, never practicing something that's going to better yourself because it's a chore. That's not what I'm saying, because we all know that there are moments in our progression that we have to buckle down and work on things in order to become a better musician. And it's not always just a complete joyride. But I really like using that passion as an impetus for everything that supports it. And I think I've gotten even more along those lines over the years, because I think initially it was like, okay, well, this is what you need to do to succeed and get people's attention. And, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do this, and that, and that's going to get you this type of success. And then everything else will kind of follow and you'll figure it out. And I'm just not that way anymore. Now, if somebody comes to me and they say, this is what I want to do, and then that's a different story. So Eric, how about you?
I've been so impressed with how bass pedagogy has changed in the last 30 years. I feel we're really living in a really exciting time. I mean, I came up with Samandal, right? And then Hal came out with Bass Project in the early 90s. And which sort of, caused a seismic shift in how we approach the instrument. So starting from more of a old school traditional method, and then being sort of going and being listening to Roboth and being exposed to Roboth and Bass Project, really sort of changed how we approach the instrument. And then as we've moved along, we've got Edgar coming along with, really introducing Thalmage, and it's been incredible sort of to watch how I teach the bass and how I play the bass and how much it has fundamentally changed from when I began to what I do now. And I think we're living in such an exciting time, especially with the platform that you have to share all of these ideas and doing it on a global level, which I think is really, really exciting.
It's really cool to see people that are hitting their mid-20s by now. Nina DeCesar, somebody that comes to mind immediately, that was studying with George Vance, coming up with this more progressive pedagogy, I guess I'll use the word, and just to see what they're going to be doing. It's just really incredible. And it's incredible what all three of you are doing and have been doing. And, not to keep going back to boardwalking and stroking, but when I first found boardwalking, I realized, that is this essence of the Roboth technique that opens the doors for just about anybody. If you can think about scales like that, it's incredible. I used to teach the jazz students classical lessons at DePaul, and we would go through boardwalking and look at the fingerboard that way. And by adding the ability to play diatonic scales, just by having that pivot, all of a sudden, it's like new possibilities open up. So it's just really exciting to be a part of this instrument that just seems to be changing so radically. And all three of you, and how cool for all three of you to be able to come together for Wabass like this and work together. What's the week like? And I guess we have Wabass during the pandemic, and then we have Wabass not during the pandemic. So maybe could you go through what, if we pretend that we're not in this current state, like what was Wabass 2017 like or something, and then like what's this year looking like, just in terms of the schedule and nuts and bolts and that kind of thing?
I think one of the things that's I think there are other programs similar. But one of the things that I love so much about Wabass Institute is you really hit the ground running. You have to get yourself there to Wabash, Indiana, which is in between Chicago, Fort Wayne, and Indianapolis. And
it's 2.5 hours from everything.
Got it.
It's such a small but artistically progressive town. And then once you get there, you have your orientation, you meet everybody, and then the first evening, Hal, Eric, and I have read-throughs for chamber music, so we can figure out what chamber music to recommend. Then the next morning, we launch off with breakfast all together, and we really do almost everything all together on our waking hours, or at least have the option to. And then the morning is a bass class into the early, the late morning. We have lunch, and then we break away for private lessons. There's 3 mentors between Eric, Hal, and I, and 9 fellowship scholars. So that's a 3-to-1 ratio. So everybody's getting a lesson, over an hour lesson every day. Wednesday is the hump day, and so you only get that person for one time during the week. Everybody else gets 2 lessons with each respective mentor. So Wednesday is like a long lesson, a really, really long lesson. And then after the lessons, there's a dinner break. And then in the evening, we have our big master classes. But the master classes are open for everybody to convey their opinions and thoughts. And sometimes it's a little timid the first couple of days. But then by Tuesday, Wednesday, or I should say the second or third day of the program, Hal, Eric, and I get to really sit back, and we're not saying nearly as much. And that's beautiful. Usually by the end of the master classes, we're not talking at all. And like Eric said, on that first evening, we kick it off with a faculty recital, and we put ourselves under the fire, and we ask all the fellowship scholars to give their feedback on, how we can improve.
We do it early before they can talk too much.
And constructive criticism is so important. It's surprising not everybody in the world knows that term, and so we try to implement that right from the start of it. And then in the end of the week, we have dress rehearsal. And we also have a big recital, so everybody gets a chance to perform. The community comes. Now, because of what we learned during COVID, we're going to have a virtual element to it as well, which will be exciting because we were able to expose it to the entire bass world and music world through you, Jason, and also the violin channel helped us out this past year, which was great. And we have an incredible partnership with a hospital in Indianapolis, where we can start to get more involved with the healing arts, which has become a really important element. It's called Eskenazi Health. And they have a whole team set up to implement arts into their hospital. And so we were supposed to go in person this year, but instead we gave them a virtual recital, and they were able to implement it in their TV channel. And unfortunately, this next year, they're not going to be able to do in person until 2022 because of health restrictions, but we're still trying to do things on a virtual level with the healing arts.
You left out the Shank effect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, go ahead, Hal. Talk about that.
Well, there's Mike Shank, right?
Oh yeah.
And Mike, Mike comes to their instrument setup is so important. I mean, it makes such a difference if they can begin to understand how their instrument works, how to care for it. And Mike can always improve just about any setup we find. So just having him there, it's such a resource. It's really not fair. I mean, other camps should hire a luthier, a good one, that sets up their instruments, because that's half the battle of a lot of these kids. Yeah. And he talks about a lot of things, their setup and the bent end pin, straight end pin. He knows so much, German bow, French bow. He's really into the way things look and the way they function, ergonomics. He's really into that. So having him there is invaluable.
He also does an amazing job at how to how do you talk to a luthier? What are you looking for in a setup? He'll hear something in a master class and he'll be like, come see me. I want to tweak something. So it's like having a team doctor there all the time for the instruments. So, and it's amazing when instruments aren't set up right and kids can't play quite, or the fellows can't play quite right. And he tweaks and all of a sudden the instrument sounds great and they sound great. So it's just, it's amazing to have him there for the week.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible that more bass events don't have that baked in. I mean, because it's such a critical. And Mike he's like a bass genius. I got a chance to meet him at the Pittsburgh Bass Symposium a couple of years ago, and just that can be the key to unlocking everything in someone's playing. It's incredible how the instrument can hold you back.
Yeah, I mean, at least 30% or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, I even myself when I'm playing an instrument, my own instrument that I know so well, and the bow hair is old, and something happened with the weather that day, or I knocked it or something. I mean, my playing, it goes down immediately, and sometimes it could really have an effect on my psyche. I'm just like, I could play so great yesterday, and now I can't. The tone quality is not there. I can't play in tune, and it's just it's a disaster. I'm like, oh, okay. I got to do something with this stuff. I mean, sometimes we look at that as, oh, no, it's you're playing, it's all you're playing. It's like almost this, it becomes this tough mentality, tough guy mentality.
A good craftsman never blames his tools.
Right. Yeah. But it really is. It makes a significant, like you're saying, it can change everything.
Yeah. Well, how cool that this is, that you have this a program like this that's been going on. This is year 14, you said? Yeah. So, and that the financial assistance is available to make something like this happen. That's absolutely incredible. And, I think early on in our conversation, you're saying, you can't solve all problems in a week, but it's amazing what you can do in a week. And I think back in my life for some week-long bass events that I had that really did change my life, and shaped my playing. And so it's incredible what an impact something like Wabass can have. What's the application process like for folks that are interested?
When Hal, Eric, and I were thinking about that, I don't know whose idea it was, but I love the idea. And it's been like this ever since. So I don't think it was my idea, but I think it's awesome. And the thought was it would be 10 minutes of your best stuff. That's it. And over the years, we found all sorts of different players have come out through the woodworks and have surprised us in a beautiful way. From year to year, we're not even sure exactly what's going to happen. Of course, you get sometimes, because people are applying to other festivals, so they will duplicate what they've done with some of those festivals because they've already done the work. But then there are others that, use their imaginations in different ways. And we even have some people who write us, and say, would it be okay if I maybe did this? And the answer is always yes. Do whatever it is that's going to showcase who you are and what you think is going to, give us an honest version of that. I think another big thing is the playing and the video is definitely the most important thing, but then the application process and what you write, we review that. We have 2 rounds when we get the video and the application. We have a preliminary round where Eric, Hal, and I break apart and review, our 1/3. And then we get together to talk about who's in the semifinals to the finals, basically, which is 1 round really. And that's at that. And, Eric and Hal, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what's really important there is not only is the player extraordinary and is inspired, but we're looking for people that hopefully can make for a great team that week, because we really are all working together. It's not a one-on-one thing. So we're in essence not just choosing someone to be someone who's going to learn. We're choosing someone who is going to add and teach even throughout the week
and share.
It's beautiful. Anything else you want to get out about Wabass, or maybe is there any age requirement or restriction or anything like that, or any other nuts and bolts details you want to get out?
that's 18 and up as well.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, it has evolved over the years. It used to be younger, but yeah, we're finding that's a good age for this program. And Eric, you might be really great to speak about this, but I've really appreciated, usually we have that from 18 to 25 years old, 26 years old. That will be the lion's share of the people that attend. But almost every year we've had a professional adults come, and they've added so much. And Eric, I know a lot of times there are people that even come through you and people that you've talked to.
The nice thing is that there is no age limit. We've had people in their 50s. We have had people as young as 14. And it's the great thing is when you have that a large group of people with different age ranges, there's just more to share and more experience. And one of my colleagues from the Houston Symphony, Burke Shaw, was a member the first year. He came. We do say that once you've attended, you can't attend the next summer, but you can come back. So I think Rex Serrani is he got the all-time lead with coming multiple times. And Brent
has to be up there,
right?
If you count the years that he ran the camp as well.
Yeah, it was Brent and Rex were each 3, I think. What about Tim Dillenschneider? Was he 2 or 3?
I think 2.
2.
But it's good to know they want to come back. But I haven't thought about the repertoire requirements. That it's starting to leak into the university area. I'm proud to say that I think Edgar and I started it. We won a piece before 1750, a piece after 1750, and then whatever you want. Play a piece, sing, dance, do whatever you want to do. I mean, we don't suggest those kind of things, but people, take that freedom. And now at Juilliard, with the faculty there, we were talking about the problem with a lot of auditions, like you listen to the same thing all the time. It's just like, oh my God. And the students are trapped into doing the same rep. It may not be stuff they want to learn. So there's contingency of a freedom of choice there. We're starting to bring that in as well. So there's a piece of choice there that the students can do rather than prescribing every little thing. So it's good not only for the players to have more options, but it's great for the listeners, for the juries to not hear Bach, the Bourrées to 3 and Koussevitzky first page. Enough of that.
Yeah, you've probably had your fill of those, those and a few other selections over the years.
Grin and bear it.
Well, that's super cool. For...
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say. You gotta love Zoom delays, and that's the beauty of editing too.
No, please, Jason, go ahead, man.
I was just going to say, how cool to have like some of the names that you were mentioning, Tim Dillenschneider, and some of these people who've gone on to have professional careers, Burke. How cool to have that sort of student-teacher relationship and then blossom into the professional relationship. I mean, all 3 of you here. Hal, it must be really interesting over the years to work with people that were your students and to see them go on and have thriving careers and in all sorts of different areas of the music world too, not necessarily just orchestral performance. What a cool thing to be involved with over the long haul. You guys must really get a lot of satisfaction out of this.
Yeah, for sure. And I do have one thing I'd like to say in closing, if I may, which is, this vision of the last 13 years with Eric and Hal, the philosophy sharing of knowledge is now moving to other instruments with the 2 additional programs that we're adding. Wabass will live forever and is the anchor program. Now, it was the only program, but now it's the anchor program. And Honeywell Arts Academy now is the umbrella. And the first program is called Residence, which is for all instruments and singers even. And that's for the pioneering musicians of the world. If you think like Y Music or Eighth Blackbird, Punch Brothers, Time for Threes, groups like that. And the faculty there is Time for Three and Peter Dugan, who's the host of From the Top. And he also plays with Josh Bell regularly. And then the middle program is called Soundboard, and it's for pianists. And just like Wabass is for bass players, Soundboard is for pianists, and it's full scholarship. And they'll accept about 7 or 8 pianists for that program. And the 2 piano teachers are John O'Connor and Peter Dugan. And then, of course, Wabass will follow. All 3 programs are full scholarship, and they're all about the same duration of time, all take place the second half of June. And the audition requirements for piano, 10 minutes of your best stuff in the spirit of the bass program, Wabass. And for residents, it's 10 minutes of your best stuff or 2 to 3 songs of your choice. So again, you have complete power and authority to make your own program for the audition. So I'm just so thrilled that the vision that came from, I know Hal was trying to give me credit before, but the vision that came from Hal and Eric, they won't let me. Hal and Eric and I is blossomed into this beautiful thing where, hopefully that sharing of knowledge really will be something that is even more infectious into the future. I think it's already there. In a lot of the people that I collaborate with, Eric and Hal, I don't know if you felt the same way, Jason, if you feel this way, but I don't really run across a lot of people anymore that don't have that type of philosophy. But when I was coming up as a student, it did happen every once in a while. But now into the future, I think it's a contagious thing.
Aren't you talking mostly with teachers, like teachers trying to own their studios and acting like they have some kind of privileged information? I mean, it's made most famous by Homer Minch. I mean, he was very possessive, and if a student had a lesson with another teacher, he would ask them to turn in their book, and was very upset with them. But you don't own knowledge. It's there. It's floating around in the air. You could see how ideas are picked up in Europe and ideas are picked up here and in Asia and stuff. And they all sort of seem to occur at the same time. Why? Because the knowledge is floating around and our antennas are up, I think.
Yeah. And how that's changed over the years, and now with this, like all 4 of us, connecting on this call like this. I mean, the accessing knowledge has never been easier. But yeah, it's interesting to watch how some of those old school teacher models have hopefully largely faded. But that that was probably more often the norm than not. The sort of possessive teacher, guard the knowledge, guard the students. You read about jazz pianists back in the 40s who were like hiding their fingers so people couldn't try to understand the chords they were playing. I think we're slowly. Yeah, exactly.
Silly.
Well, I will link up to the Honeywell Arts Academy. It's cool to have that be the umbrella organization. I think that's new since we last spoke, Renan, if I remember correctly. This is all, so it's cool. It's cool to see how all 3 of you, how your careers have unfolded. And I will shout out, when the event comes up, obviously we'll get this out as soon as we can and direct people to the site. And then any way I can help spread the word or share out for this year and years in the future, obviously. Hopefully it goes without saying, but, just keep me posted.
Hey, Jason, just 10 minutes of your best stuff, man.
I love it.
I mean that with all due respect.
Yeah.
But you would have a fun time, my friend.
I would have a fun. Well, okay. Now pressure's on. Okay.
No, there's no pressure. It fits in your life, but it's a break from reality. You're gonna be in a completely different environment. Not you, but any of these folks that have been working a lot. It's a completely different environment, and you're gonna get so turned on, inspired. Some people will be intimidated. Mm-hmm. A lot of folks are intimidated by the youth because they can do so much. But I mean, you have so much to share with them and so much to learn from them. So I really hope we get some more mature players as well. to audition, because we love to have that mix.
That's a look inside Wabass and the people that founded it. It's such an inspiring thing. We have information on how to apply linked in the description below. Check out Wabass. Check out the Honeywell Arts Academy. That's the umbrella organization that Wabass is under now. And thank you so much, Eric, Renan, Hal, for the great work you're doing. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.